Welcome back to WealthMax Financial Podcast. I am your host, Ed Patello, founder of WealthMax Financial Group. We here are a financial planning firm in Bristol, Rhode Island. Our mission is to help you, the community, maximize their wealth. That's why I called my firm WealthMax Financial Group. Okay, we are taking pride in helping our people understand finances and maximize their finances. Today, we are going to be talking about the seventh wonder of the world, and yes, it has something to do with finances. It is compounding interest. Okay, so when you think of compounding interest, you've probably heard the term before, but let me simplify this for you. Let me draw it in color, because when you understand things in color, in crayon, when you understand it, okay, that's when you have the most confidence to act. Because you need a compounding interest account today. Right now, as soon as you listen to this podcast, you need to start your compounding interest account today. Okay? And what is compounding interest? It is a concept of earning interest on your money and then also interest on the money that was created from the appreciation of the initial contribution. Now that really sounds complex. So let me simplify this again in crayon. Okay? If you were to contribute $100, okay, you earned 10% interest. You would gain $100. That is what you earned. Now, in order to compound on that interest, the next year, if you were to earn another 10%, not only would your $1,000 grow another $100, but that $100 from the last year would also grow 10%. So not only did your initial $1,000 grow by 10%, but the $1,100, the $1,000 initial premium, the initial contribution, plus your interest earned also grew 10%. So the money that your money earned is earning interest. Okay? So that's why you need to start it today. Why? The more years you have to compound your interest, the more money you're going to have. It's very simple, okay? If you want to invest for 10 years, you're going to have 10 years of compounding availability. That is not a lot of time. In those 10 years, you may see 2 or 3 bad markets. You want the biggest aspect to the compound interest equation is time. The more time you give your money to compound, the more money you're going to have when you reach the finish line. Okay? So, the second biggest factor, though, other than time, is obviously the investment amount. If you wanted to compound your interest with $10 a year, that's probably not going to allow you to retire or to sustain some type of level of living in the future or for retirement. Okay, so what we got to realize, guys, is what is the goal? Okay, I like to work backwards. What is the goal for my clients? What is your goal? Is it to buy a house, to buy a 3-family, to retire, to stop working, to own your own business? Do you need to develop some type of level of wealth in order to accomplish those goals? Okay. Do you need to save and invest your money so you can retire at 60? The answer is yes. Okay, your income is the biggest tool that you have for your finances. It is what you've developed to create financial wealth. Your income is a tool. It is not what creates wealth, though. Let me reiterate that. Let me draw that in crayon. If you make $100,000 a year, you can be a millionaire. You can be very rich, but you can also be very broke. It's what you do with the $100,000. It's what you do with your income that requires you to either be wealthy or not. Okay? So, my advice to anybody, okay, and I cannot give advice on a podcast or on a video because I don't know what your financial circumstances, but I can almost guarantee you if you don't have a substantial amount of debt, you should be starting some type of compound interest account. You should be investing your money and allowing your money to compound itself for many, many years. And it really doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 60, or 2 years old. Okay, if you have children or kids, you can start a compound interest account for them as well. It doesn't matter. You, whoever's listening to this, whoever's in your world, should probably, and I can almost bet my life on it, should probably have a compound interest account. Okay? So when we talk about compounding interest, okay, let's go through a big picture. Let's go through a huge example, right? If you were to contribute $1,000 for 40 years. So let's just say you're 20 years old or you're 25, you want to retire at 60 or 65, you have 40 years to retire. And on average, the market does 10%. Let's just say no really good years, no really bad years, just on average, the market does 10% every single year, okay? $1,000 a year for 40 years at 10%. You with me? Great. I hope you're with me. That's pretty simple. Okay. After 10 years, you would contribute, again, $1,000 every single year. After 10 years, you would contribute $10,000 to a compound interest account. With 10% growth, your account value would be $17,500. About $17,500. So you would have gained $7,500, which is 75%. Okay, which is 75% of what you contributed. Okay? Now, after 20 years, you were contributed $20,000. The account would have read, listen to this, $63,000. Now, I don't know if you caught what I just caught, so let me explain this to you. Okay? If you gained $7,500 in the first 10 years, how come you didn't gain another $7,500 in the next 10 years? It's because your interest is now compounding on the money that's already in the account. That's including the money that's already appreciated in the account. Okay? So let's hear this again. After 10 years, your account's at $17,500. After 20 years, your account's at $63,000. Okay? Which is an increase of $45,000 from year 10. Not $7,500, $45,000. Now let's go a step further. Another 10 years. You now contributed $30,000 of your dollars. Your account value would be $180,000, which is an increase of $117,000 from year 20. So the first 10 years, you gained $7,500, $7,500. The next 10 years, you gained $45,000. The third 10 years, you gained $117,000. After year 40, your account would read $486,000. So you would have gained $306,000 from year 30. Let's hear that again. Hear that out loud. $306,000 would have been gained from year 30 to year 40. More than half of your account value was gained in your last 10 years because that interest was earned on a bigger number. So you contributed $40,000 in 40 years, and your account reads $486,000. Now, I want to say this one more time. In the first 10 years, your account went up $7,500. In the next 10 years, your account went up $45,000. In the third 10 years, your account went up $117,000. And in the fourth 10-year span, your account went up $306,000. I'm explaining this to you because I want you to understand the power of time and compounding your interest. Okay? Now, $486,000, let me explain this to you. That is not a lot of money. You cannot retire on $486,000. You will be in poverty by the time you are 65, unless you are like 65 right now, and I will still debate you're living a low standard of life. Okay, with inflation, the cost of living, and everything increasing by 2.5% to 3% every year. Obviously, it's not going to be as bad as it has been throughout your span of retirement. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to get into a compound interest account today. You have to call me, message me. Let's get this compound interest account started today. Therefore, in 40 years, you can have that level of compounding. Okay? What kind of accounts are compound interest accounts, and what kind of accounts are compounding your money? Okay? Let me give you some examples. You have obviously money market accounts. Okay? They're going to compound your money very slow. Okay? They're not going to give you huge upside potential with interest based upon the level of liquidity that account has. High yield savings accounts, same thing. The level of liquidity is probably going to hold you to a lower standard of appreciation with interest. Okay? Bonds. Bonds are usually anywhere from 3 to 5% depending on the way interest rates are reacting. CDs. CDs right now are not that bad considering where they were 4 or 5 years ago based upon interest rates. So those four things, high yield savings, money market accounts, bonds, and CDs, are your more conservative approach to compound interest accounts. Okay? When we take a look at more an aggressive approach, okay, the next tier of aggressiveness in a compound interest account, that would be things like overfunded life insurance policies, mutual funds, ETFs, rental real estate, cryptocurrency, individual stocks, 401ks, and IRAs. All those are also compound interest accounts. So a lot of you guys probably have 401ks or 403bs within your employer. The problem with that is it's a tax ticking time bomb, and you probably should get some advice on how you plan on using those accounts. The other accounts are things that you can own yourself, okay, and your employer doesn't have to own them like they own your 401k or 403b. Those other things are things that you should probably gain education on through either a professional or someone who is using those types of accounts. Okay? Don't just start going to buy cryptocurrency because you heard a lot of millionaires are doing it. Understand and get educated on these different types of compound interest accounts. Okay? So to conclude my podcast here, the emphasis is one of these accounts. Really, I'm looking at the list of these accounts, and you should be owning at least 3 of these. If you don't own at least 3 of these accounts, then you need to call me, DM me, text me, email me, do something to gain one of these accounts. Again, guys, that's what I do. I help people get educated with developing and enhancing their finances. And I can usually guarantee you that one of these accounts is going to be inside of my recommendations. Okay? It could be a money market account. It could be, hey, we need to increase your savings, but we want to gain higher interest than 0% because our money needs to start compounding today for us. Therefore, in year 30 to 40, we're gaining that exponential curve of compound interest. Okay? So, guys, if you need any help, feel free to reach out. We want to help you here at WealthMax. We have a team. It's not just me, I can assure you of that, who is developing recommendations, developing financial plans. I am obviously the face of the process, but I don't need to be. So, in order to contact us, guys, we're on every source of social media, and we want to help. We need you to help because, trust me, we are going to be entering a crisis of finances if we do not get educated. You will end up at 65 years old saying, what the hell did I do? I did not save any dollars. And if you think the government is going to save you, they will, maybe, but not at a very good level of living. Okay? You need to control your own future. And it amazes me because people have to get insurance, right? People have to get car insurance. People have to get home insurance to protect the home that they don't even own, the mortgage company owns, the car that they don't even own, the loan company owns it. But you are not mandated to contribute to a retirement account where, guess who owns your retirement? You own your retirement. At 70 years old, you own everything that happens to you. Whether you have money, whether you need a nursing home, whether you need to sell your house, you own it all on what you probably did in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Okay? Well, probably more like 20s and 30s and 40s, okay, when you're accumulating your wealth. A lot of people listening to this podcast is probably accumulating their wealth. They want to grow their wealth. Well, how do you grow their wealth? It's compounding interest. I can 100% guarantee that. Thank you for listening to the WealthMax podcast. We will see you next week. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed today's conversation about money and finances and gained some valuable insight that you could use right now. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are using to listen to our podcast. And we also want to hear your feedback. So go to our website at www.wealthmaxfg.com. Explore the many resources we have, but we want to hear some of your suggestions and questions that you have and want to hear for our next following podcast. So until next week, guys, keep learning, keep compounding, and keep planning.